Section 11.3 is about changing the subject of a formula. But before we get into what a formula is, we need to compare it with other words I've been using, like expression and equation. And in fact, question 1 wants us to decide which of the above offerings, should we say, this little lot here, which of these are expressions, which are formulae, and which are equations. Well, let's just take it one at a time. I've got P equals A plus B plus C plus D. It's definitely not an expression because there's an equals there. The choice is a formula or an equation. Well, if it's an equation, it's got to have an equals on it, but then so has a formula. Now, this one, P equals A plus B plus C plus D, can you solve the equation and get me an answer for P, for example? The answer is no, you can't, because you don't know the values of A, B, C and D. Therefore, this one here, the first one, is a formula for something. Taking it down here, 2x plus 5y minus 4z. Equation, no, there's no equals. Formula, no, there's no equals. It's an expression. It's a little bit of math speak involving letters and numbers. Next one, 7n plus 3n. You can't solve it. It's not an equation. It's not a formula because there's no equals in it, and it's an expression. A little bit of math talk. Next one, 3h equals 6. Well, equation or formula. Well, I can solve this. I can see that h equals 6 divided by 3, and therefore 2. Hence, that must be an equation. Next one, 5 equals 1 minus 2q. Not an expression, I've got an equals there. Is it a formula? Could be. Is it an equation? Definitely, because I can solve this. I can work out the value of q by rearranging this equation and working out what q is. But for now, it's an equation. It can be solved. Here, 9k minus 3. There's no equals. It says not an equation or a formula. It's an expression. It's something being expressed in mathematical algebraic terms. So that's an E expression. If I better change these, that's an EX for expression. That's an EX for expression. That's E for equation. That's E for equation. EX for expression. Just to make it look different. And here, what do we got here? Well, we've got an equals there. Is it an equation? But I can't work out the value for C. I don't know what H is, so I can't solve it to get an answer for C or for H for that matter. But it's definitely a formula of some sort because C equals 25 times H minus 9. It's a formula for something, so that's an F. All right. Now, rearranging equations or making the subject of the formula different. So let's jump straight into question 4a. 4a, I've got y equals x minus 32. And I want to make x the subject of the formula. Well, to get x on its own, the minus 32 comes next door and gets added, just like a standard equation where you try and solve it, but you can't go all the way with it. So I've got y plus 32 equals x, or better still, x equals y plus 32. Alright, so I'm done. B, I've got y equals bx. Now bx means b times x. To get x on its own, the b is multiplied here, take it next door and divide, perform the opposite operation. Next one, C, I've got d equals 7x minus 60. This is a two-step rearranged thing. So if I want to get x on its own, let's get rid of the 60 first next door and add it. So I've got 7x equals d plus the 60. To get x on its own, I merely divide the right hand side by 7, and it's fine to leave it like that. We'll do the last one. I've got y minus x equals 50. Don't like minus x's. I'm going to take it next door and add it. So I've got x plus 50 equals y. Now I can happily take the 50 next door and subtract it. So x on its own will be y minus the 50. Question 6. The formula for finding the circumference of a circle is, you know this one, c equals pi d. And rearrange the formula to make d the subject. Well, if I'm multiplying by pi, the pi's got to go next door and get divided. Therefore, I've got d equals c. It's been there all day, sitting on the top, waiting to be divided by the pi. There it is. That's that one. I'm not going to do that one. I'm not going to do that one either. I'm going to do this one here, question 9. Using the formula v equals u plus at, it's a lovely physics formula there. Rearrange the formula to make a the subject. Well, look, I've got at multiplied together, a times t. Therefore, the first thing to move has got to be the u. Subtract it. So AT equals V, who's been there first, then subtract the U, and to get the A on its own, A equals V. Getting a bit confused here. Let's write it neater. That'll be fine. So I want A equals V minus U, and the T is multiplying like I said before, so take it over and divide, and that's that formula rearranged. I've got another one here, question 10, with an asterisk by it. I've got V equals pi r squared. Hopefully you recognise that as the formula for the volume of a cylinder, and r is the radius and h is the height of that cylinder. So write the formula. It says write the formula for finding the height of the cylinder. Right, so they want h. Well, let's do this in one step, because look, I've got pi r squared. I can take it over as one little blob, so it's V divided by pi r squared. Isn't that easy? Because pi times radius squared times h, it's all been multiplied together. Therefore pi r squared as a unit can be taken next door and divided, and that's it. See what's on the other page, see if there's anything worthwhile here. I may as well do this one. Gary needs to change the temperature from C to F. In other words, degrees C to degrees F. And this is the formula I've got. I've got degrees Fahrenheit equals 9 times degrees centigrade divided by 5, add on 32. And remember this formula, rearrange this formula to make C the subject, and remember to show you working. Okay, right. So let's do this slowly. I've got a blob here and a blob there. First thing we need to do is remove the 32 next door and subtract. So I have got F minus 32 equals 9C divided by 5. Next step, well, I've got the 5 dividing here. This goes next door and gets multiplied, but be very, very careful, because if you're taking the 5 next door to multiply, you multiply everything by 5, and therefore the F minus 32 has got to be in brackets. And so 9C equals 5 brackets F minus 32 close bracket. So therefore, let's go yellow. To get the C on its own, we're going to go 5 bracket F minus 32, and then divide by 9, because over here we're multiplying, go next door and divide, and there it is. Degrees C equals degrees F minus 32. Get that bit right, multiply by 5, divide by 9. And that's all I want to do with that one. I'll look at the assess. I'll get back to you very shortly.